Since Barack Obama's original election campaign in 2008, where social media was deployed, and the 2016 election of Donald Trump, when Facebook was the focus, we've been talking about how the internet and social media has been changing voter behavior. So we've invited an expert who knows all the nuts and bolts of micro-targeting to prepare you for the midterm elections of 2018.
My name is Jason J. Smart. I'm an American political consultant who has worked in over a dozen countries, and I've worked in 2 U.S. presidential elections, including for McCain's 2008 election and for Senator Ted Cruz in 2016, where I was seconded by Cambridge Analytica to the campaign.
Are you able to say when you were with Cambridge Analytica what your focus was?
My focus with Cambridge Analytica was to advise them as to what issues would be most interesting for American voters. So this is the population of the United States. We know immediately that half the population is not going to vote for sure. That is immediately people we don't have to allocate any resources to. Within the remaining people who are going to vote, there's about half of them who are Democrat and half of them who are Republican. But between them, there remains the territory of swing voters. And those are people that you try to target specifically because they can sometimes go Democrat and sometimes go Republican. With the advent of data science, there's been a push to try to identify every citizen and to understand who they are on the individual micro level so that we can make sure that our ads are targeted either to our base or to the voters here in the swing territory.
On the issue of guns, let's go through the kind of ads that might appeal to voters.
If we look at guns as an issue, with Democratic voters it's generally anti-gun, Republican voters generally pro-gun. Guns might make up only somewhere between 5 to 12% of American voters that is the top issue for them in an election. It's actually a very small number, though it's a huge amount of what the media covers. But within that, we have to delineate who those people are. People that are pro-gun might have several different reasons of voting that way. For instance, the guy who's a constitutionalist might just fundamentally believe it is my right to own a firearm. So his ad might just have a picture of the Constitution with firearms across it and says, it's guaranteed in the Constitution your right to bear arms and we will always support that. Somebody that has their top issue is, for instance, hunting. Be a hunter with his camouflage and it just says hunting, a tradition that continues from generation to generation. Then you click and you get more information about the campaign. The guy who's into self-defense might have something more extreme, more exciting. Self-defense, you never know when trouble might strike, you have to be prepared. But all the ads are targeted to what would appeal to the person on the micro level, not to the general public.
Can you talk about the flip side now?
There could be those who are against firearms because they believe that it's an issue of concern for women's health. The fact that domestic violence in America is very high, and they worry about the threat that is posed by firearms in the home against women. Those who worry about the issues specific of school shootings, as it gets a lot of media coverage, and believe that it's a threat to their children or children in general. There are those who worry about firearms because they think it's antiquated, that it's something that they think the Constitution did not call for the modern application of firearms, and that it's something that should be done away with. But it always appeals to somebody's sense of justice. It appeals to them on a personal level. Because somebody who sees an ad, for instance, domestic violence issue, who is apathetic completely to guns, or is completely apathetic to voting, is not useful. It doesn't do us anything. But if I know that this is something that really motivates that person on a micro level, that could gain a vote, and that's a useful use of our time.
So what would you say to people getting ready for the midterms, trying to choose who to vote for? What should they look out for in order to understand that micro-targeting is trying to manipulate their decision?
The Democratic Party might try to look at the Republicans and say, in the case of Charlottesville, the disaster that happened there with the neo-Nazi march, that was a very small number of people that participated, and they was not affiliated with the Republican Party directly. Yet, you might try to create an emotional response from people who are generally left-leaning or people who are just neutral or swing voters that say, I don't want to be something like that, I don't want to have a part of that. And so you try to paint the entire right, the entire Republican Party, as being affiliated with this. If you're a Republican voter, what you might see is that there is a specific attention to make the left look as far out, as extremist as ever been. It's a very old nature of attack, and something that is always used in elections. So this creates an emotional response, a knee-jerk reaction, that people immediately reject that and say, well, I won't be voting Democrat, and even if I won't be voting Republican, I'll just stay home. That already works to the interest of the Republican Party that no longer will this person be voting Democrat.
Micro-targeting didn't win the primary for Ted Cruz. Where did you guys fail?
Keep in mind, Donald Trump also used Cambridge Analytica in the elections. So I would not say it failed. I would say quite the opposite. When Cruz began the campaign, I want to say he was in 15th place out of 16 candidates. He came in 2nd place. Donald Trump was in 8th place, he came in 1st place. So there was a clear result for having used this science. Micro-targeting works in all industries, but what it's always trying to do is trying to persuade you on issues that touch you. So you have to look why somebody's offering you this. Do they have your sincere interest at heart, or are they just trying to use you as a means to an end to gain your vote?